Nelson Mandela was one of the most influential people of all time.
His work in ending apartheid in South Africa put him on the level of social activists like Martin Luther King Jr. and Mahatma Gandhi.
He truly is the hero that ended the apartheid and improved the lives of millions.
Say Sumanth, did you know Nelson Mandela was a communist?
Don't act like it was such a big deal after you weigh his tremendous impact on the world against the small fact that he was a part of the Communist Party.
I guess you are right, because despite Nelson Mandela's association with the SACP, he does not deserve to have a tarnished reputation, as his efforts to secure the rights of blacks in South Africa should reflect more on his name than his links to communism.
Correct. Mandela devoted his entire life to ending the apartheid, and yet people are still trying to use a petty involvement with communism to tarnish his good name.
Ever since Mandela was young, he had dreamed about making an effort to end his people's struggle in South Africa. Mandela vowed to make a change in his country.
He joined the ANC, African National Congress, in 1944, and based on his efforts, the ANC adopted a more radical, mass-based policy, the Program of Action, in 1949.
Mandela was arrested in 1955, and this led to the treason trials. Prior to the end of the treason trials, Mandela gave a speech at the All In Africa Conference. During this conference, which resolved that he should write to Prime Minister Verwoerd requesting a national convention on a non-racial constitution and to warn that should he not agree, there would be a national strike against South Africa becoming a republic.
Mandela also warned that a national strike was to come if this idea was rejected. Mandela did go on to try and plan the national strikes, however, they never took place. On October 9, 1963, Mandela joined 10 others on trial for sabotage in what became known as the Rivonia Trials. The Rivonia Trial is also where Mandela met Abram Fisher, his lawyer who would go on to be the main defender of Mandela and his legacy. It was at this trial where Mandela gave his famous speech to the court while facing the death penalty.
He said, I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished that ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve, but if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
In June of 1964, Mandela was again accused of sabotage and was then sentenced to life imprisonment at Robben Island. Here we have a map of South Africa, and if we look more closely at the bottom left corner, we can see Cape Town. Robben Island was near Cape Town. This is a closer look at the Western Cape and Robben Island, where Mandela was forced to spend 27 years of his life in prison. It was at this time when Mandela did most of his thinking and even refused to leave imprisonment on conditional releases, just so he could spend time and plan out the path for South Africa to end the apartheid.
In February of 1990, Mandela was finally released from prison. Very shortly after that, the ANC was reinstated. Mandela also went on to be the first democratically elected president and won the Nobel Peace Prize alongside Frederick Willem de Klerk for his efforts to abolish the apartheid without violence.
It is clear that Mandela had spent his entire life trying to better the country of South Africa since the vow when he was young.
During the Rivonia trial, it was believed that Mandela planned to overthrow the government alongside the South African Communist Party, or the SACP. This is the reason why Mandela is seen in a negative light with the SACP.
However, Mandela believed that he had to be involved with the Communist Party in order to get his ideas heard. In a paper written by Haddon Gordimer, it is included that Abram Fisher believed laws were enacted not to prevent the spread of communism, but for the purpose of silencing the opposition of a large majority of citizens.
Mandela and Fisher wanted to be able to represent themselves against a government body which they felt was oppressing many people. The two did not work with the Communist Party because they wanted to steer the country towards communism, but because they instead wanted to bring attention to their own ideas.
According to Bill Keller, the Communist Party accepted input from all, while the South African government did not give equal representation for its entire population.
Mandela and Fisher just wanted to gain the representation that the South African government was not giving them. Not once is it mentioned in any source that Mandela and Fisher personally, specifically wanted to spread communism.
There is nothing written in the paper that specifically shows that Fisher actually did something radical or illegal. In fact, Fisher assisted in a campaign to support sanctions and boycotts against South Africa.
This shows that whatever Fisher was trying to prove was being done in a peaceful manner. Mandela and Fisher only joined the Communist Party in order to get their voices heard.
It does not view Mandela's controversial actions as pointless and selfish, but something that was done to help South Africa's social future. The paper does not look at the communist links as a decision that should take away from the overall impact that Mandela had on racial tension throughout the country.
Mandela has been quoted as saying, "I do not, however, deny that I planned sabotage. I did not plan it in a spirit of recklessness, nor because I have any love of violence. I planned it as a result of a calm and sober assessment of the political situation that had arisen after many years of tyranny, exploitation, and oppression of my people by the whites."
This is a perfect explanation of what we have been trying to prove. He only joined the Communist Party to help save the country, as he saw it was in a dire situation, and he felt that his involvement with the SACP would provide South Africa with a more equal society. During his reign, Mandela never reciprocated what was done to him. Although he was oppressed by many of the white rulers in South Africa before he was president, he did not lash out against whites when he was president.
Nelson Mandela himself explains in this quote that he only joined the Communist Party to help save the country as he saw it was in a dire situation.
According to Bill Keller, as president from 1994 to 1999, he devoted much energy to reassuring whites with fears of vengeance.
This shows how Mandela understood that punishing the white people that were not kind to him was not the right answer. He understood that this would just further worsen any conflicts present in the country already between the natives and the whites. Mandela was not a leader focused on doing what he wanted, which would have been punishing the whites, but he was more focused on doing what was right for the benefit of the country.
Mandela would rather fix what was wrong than punish those that hurt him. Mandela was focused on making South Africa a country where anybody and everybody could live with equal rights. In one of the few talks with Mandela, he said, "Unlike white people anywhere else in Africa, whites in South Africa belong here. This is their home."
He understood the idea of forgiveness, and he used this in his rule. His rule was so powerful and impactful on the lives of many because he was not focused on the revenge of those that oppressed him in the past, but he was focused on moving the country into the future.
Nelson Mandela's peaceful approach to ending the apartheid will forever be the focal point of his life. However, his involvement with the South African Communist Party overcomplicated his legacy and makes it seem as if all of his actions had bad intentions.
Correct. Nelson Mandela will forever be remembered for all the positive work he did. However, these days, his work and reputation is being tainted due to the fact that he joined and worked with the SACP.
So, the overlying message we would like to provide is that Nelson Mandela's confirmed relationship with the Communist Party is the sole reason why successfulness is questioned. But this should not be a defining aspect of his legacy. And if Nelson Mandela was never confirmed as a member of the South African Communist Party, his great efforts for securing equal social rights for blacks in South Africa would have never been undermined by skeptics.